Every now and then, Apple does something very un-Apple-like, and today is one of those days. This is the iPhone 17e, which, for the first time, has interchangeable and, dare I say, upgradable parts with its predecessor, the iPhone 16e. We know last year's iPhone 16e had 7-watt wireless charging, but no MagSafe magnets. And this year's iPhone 17e has 15-watt wireless charging with the MagSafe magnets. And if my sources are correct, they can be swapped back and forth. My source is iFixit, and according to iFixit, even the motherboard is upgradable. So if you want the A19 chip instead of the A18 chip, you can plop the new motherboard into your iPhone 16e and have a whole new upgraded brain, except for the Face ID camera, which we'll get to more later. Before we can explore the insides though, we have to durability test the outsides. Apple has upgraded the display of the 17e to Ceramic Shield 2, which they claim is 3 times more scratch resistant. And that might be slightly true. My marks at a level 6 are so faint I can hardly say the thing anymore, which is the end of an era, but the beginning of something greater. iFixit found that the front 12-megapixel camera is one of the few things that can't be swapped back and forth. Well, the camera itself can, but the Face ID portion of the camera is locked to the motherboard for security reasons, which is fair. The earpiece grill is metal and permanent. And then we have the 85% recycled aluminum frame, which is a weird percentage since the MacBooks, like the MacBook Neo, are made from 100% recycled aluminum. One of the coolest features, though, that I'm actually rather jealous of, is something that Apple's been doing with every iPhone since the iPhone 14. Up here at the top is where we find the emergency satellite antenna. Let's say I'm in the middle of nowhere and I have no signal. With an iPhone, I can still text anyone or share my location and contact emergency services. And Apple does all of this for free, which is even crazier. Emergency preparedness has been on my mind quite a bit lately, with everything going on in the world. So I created the Jerry Can. Unlike plastic water bottles that expire or leach microplastics, water storage in an aluminum can basically has an indefinite shelf life, making it perfect for daily drinking or long-term storage. We pulled the Jerry Can water straight out of a mountain in California, UV treated and ozonated it for extra purification, then hermetically sealed the H2O inside an aluminum can, meaning it can be consumed for everyday use or put in long-term storage for emergencies down the road. Peace of mind is extremely valuable. I'm biased obviously, but if I do have to choose between plastic and metal, I'm going to choose metal every time. It's cleaner and colder. We made an energy drink as well, just for fun, and any order over $100 gets free shipping. For reference, a 12-pack will give one person a 3-day supply of emergency water. So just buy enough cases for however many days you want to survive in the apocalypse. Link is in the description. Where was I? Ah yes, the emergency SOS antenna lines are also surrounded by aluminum, along with the whole left side and its action button, and individual volume buttons. Down at the bottom we have our microphone, USB-C port, and lower stereo loudspeaker. And you might be like, hey Jerry, Apple just took an iPhone 16e and called it the iPhone 17e just like they've done with every model of iPhone for the past decade. And you're right, but normally Apple changes just enough so that the parts are not reusable on the insides. So either Apple is turning over a new consumer-friendly leaf on the Apple tree, or some intern is about to get fired. The logo is rather perfectly placed though, so maybe keep that intern around. The iPhone 17e only has one camera, which is the exact same camera as the iPhone 16e. Literally the same part number, but I'll prove that in a second. Then we have the screen. It's still the 6.1-inch XDR OLED 1200 nit 60Hz display as the 16e, but since it has the new Ceramic Shield 2 on top, it is a different part number. But all the internal plugs are the same, and I'll also prove that in just a second. It lasts for about 20 seconds before going white and mostly recovering. Finally, the bin test. Apples are normally extremely structurally sound, and since this 17e is just an upcycled 16e, there's no surprise that it's just as structurally solid as last year. No flex when bent from the front or the back. Now for the fun part. I'll grab my smartphone toolkit and take out the pentalobe screws at the bottom of the iPhone. These 2 screws are 20 cents by the way, so make sure not to lose them. And we can see what happens when we upgrade the old iPhone 16e to MagSafe. Can you imagine the utopia we would be living in if Apple became as modular as Fairphone? Thumbs up for that idea. I can use a whole lot of heat and a super thin pry tool to slice away the watertight IP68 water resistance holding on the back panel. If your fingers aren't on fire, the phone isn't hot enough. Once the backside is lifted off, folding open like a book, we can see the underside of the magnets. And just for fun, we can plug in an Apple 15-watt wireless fast charger and see that indeed, the 17E is pulling 17 watts wirelessly. It's only rated for 15, so we are off to a very good start. I'll unclip the battery ribbon plug and back panel plug just like little Legos, and I'll do the same thing to the back panel of the iPhone 16e. You can see the damage that we inflicted last year getting a good look at that wireless charging pad. So it's extra interesting to see if I can swap out the broken piece with the upgraded hardware. With the iPhone 17e MagSafe back glass installed on my iPhone 16e and turned back on, we can see that the magnets definitely do lock the charger in place, but we are maxing out at the original non-MagSafe 7-watt charging speeds. So it looks like internally the software on the 16e is still throttling our capacity even though the hardware is capable of transmitting the extra juice. Still cool, but not as cool as I was hoping. Going back to the pricing, the rear camera is the same part number for both phones and costs $98 after the return credit. The top speaker is also the same part number and costs $67.08, and the Apple vibrator has different part numbers but costs the same $67.08. Then we have the battery. This guy is also a different part number, but it has the same price, same capacity, and same form factor, and same release mechanism as the iPhone 16e. Just a 9-volt power source to electronically decouple the adhesive. And the longer you leave the power source connected to the battery, the easier it'll be to release and just, fall out. I do like this electrically conductive adhesive. Prying out the battery can be super dangerous, and I'm glad we don't have to do that anymore. Both batteries are 4005 milliamp hours. Finally, the screen. The screen can be replaced independently from the rest of the hardware, just opening up the front of the phone instead of the back. This is a crazy difficult process to do successfully though, if you want the screen to survive. So keep in mind that the replacement screens both cost $217 after the return part credit, but they are very interchangeable. So if you want the tougher Ceramic Shield 2 glass on your previous iPhone 16e, it is definitely possible. Anyway, I'm glad that Apple has made the part pool wider for these two phones. Yeah, they probably did it for themselves, to make manufacturing easier and cheaper and to reuse parts, but I do appreciate them not locking down the parts like they've historically been known for doing. As always, the easiest way to see the insides of your own phone from the outsides is with one of my Teardown skins. I made sure to show off the magnetic ring around the new 17e, since our Teardown skins are always exact representations of the insides. And of course, if you want to keep your own insides functional in emergency, my jerry can is linked below. I imagine with the world being the way it is, we're gonna sell out quick, so get some while you can. Hit that subscribe button, we are so close to 10 million, and thanks a ton for watching. I'll see you around.